In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I built this custom stainless steel exhaust for my buddy's GTO. Let's get into it. Now I know what you're thinking. Didn't you just make a video on this a year ago? And that would be correct, avid listener and subscriber. However, I've made a few changes to my welding setup and I think it's gonna help out a lot more, but I'll explain that later. What you're looking at here is probably the cheapest exhaust kit that you can buy on Amazon that is stainless steel, or at least says that it is. With the exception of the resonators and the X-pipe, everything came in a kit for like less than 200 bucks. The best place to start is going to be to take this X-pipe and put it back in the car. And that'll give us a good spot to figure out where it's going to actually be. So he got this thing off of Marketplace and it's specifically for this car. So it should fit pretty good. So with the X-pipe now on, we can see where this spits us out at. For now, we're going to start with couple pieces at maybe 12 inches, 12 and a half inches, somewhere in there. And that'll be a good start. What we have decided to do is we're gonna run the right side out straight here to give us room to put the other resonator right next to it. We're gonna put a couple of bends in here to offset it a little bit. The left side is gonna stick out a little bit further, but it will give us enough room. You'll see what I mean. Now, in order for this angle to look right, we got to cut this 45 directly in half. So that way it maintains that 2.5 inch diameter. There's some scientifical, mathematical ways of doing this, but I'm just going to eyeball it. I can live with that. So that made two 22.5 degree bends, which means that this is able to move out of the way of that other resonator. I just realized that if I tack this all together, I'm gonna have no way to put the solar flux on. The solar flux is what helps keep the backside of the weld from crystallizing. So it's like an alternative to back purging, basically. All this is a powder. Dump it in a cup, grab some alcohol, keep mixing it until it's like a nice thick mud. Now we're just gonna brush this in on the inside of where we're welding. Now to prepare the surface for welding, I'm just going to use a designated stainless steel wire brush. Hit it with this brush really good. Next thing you're going to want to do is just wipe it down with some acetone. This gets any dirt, anything weird that's on these things. That's all the dirt that we got off of this thing. Now earlier I mentioned that I made some changes to my setup. And one of the things that I changed was I converted the torch that I had to a gas lens setup. That made a world of difference. I'm getting all sorts of color now in my welds. It looks way better. Here's how it turned out. Certainly I don't claim to be the greatest TIG welder in the world, but the important thing here is that it all seals up. Now that that's welded, we're gonna move on to the cats. It looks like these cats were made to be like clamped on. We're gonna cut this clamp end off and we're just gonna weld it. I'm just gonna tack it on just to make sure that it's in the right spot when we get it inside the car. Okay, so here's what it looks like on the car. You can see that bend we made just directs it just outside. Now that I know these are good and our angles are right, I'm gonna finish welding this out. So now that the resonators are welded on, we can start working how we're gonna get around the diff back here. The way I'm gonna do this is I'm just gonna work one side at a time. So once I finish the left side, then I'll move over to the right side because they gotta be routed so close to each other. So to start things off here, I think I'm gonna go straight off of that left side resonator for maybe a foot or so. You see we're hitting the side of the diff right on this corner here. We'll probably cut it maybe around here and kind of angle it out, you know, this way. Well guys, I think I got a pretty good plan set up here. That slides right in there like that. And then now we can kind of angle this piece up. We'll pivot it like that. And now that gets us in pretty good shape for the rest of it. Because then we can take this tube here, put it on the end like this. And then that lines us up pretty good out there. So now I can actually clock this back over here, which I think is gonna be about there. So I'm just gonna make a mark here, and that's just gonna let us know that our angle's going the right way. It's tight up against the diff, but it's not close enough that I'm too concerned about it. Now I just gotta align these parts here with the mark that I made. Right about there should be good. Let's throw this on the car and see if it fits. Honestly, I think we need to come at more of a sharp angle. The more that I'm thinking about this, part of me thinks that this straight piece here needs to cut across that way some more to give room for the other tube to run up next to it. What that means for me, if I played around with putting a 45 here and then I did a 90 here, I think that might be my only option. Putting this long piece on there was a little premature. It's fine, we'll just cut it off. It's only metal. Nice. All right, I'm chopping this 90 up to make a 45. Well guys, I did a little bit of work from that 45. I put another 45 in there, and that makes it like a 90-degree bend. So when I put that bend right there is another 90 degree. That made this guy straight. Now, I like this so far, except for the fact that the straight end is kind of sloped down. And I'm not a huge fan of that. In order to remedy that, what I think I gotta do is shorten up this piece here. That can allow this thing to pivot up a little bit higher. I'm not gonna show too much of doing the other side because really all it is the same thing. It's just gonna run parallel to it. So I'm gonna get this other side done and then I'll be back. All right guys, I got this thing pretty much all tacked up and ready to go. Yeah, I just ran the second one just parallel right alongside it. Nothing too crazy there. If I was gonna do this again, I think I would have routed everything a little bit more this way. And I think that would be able to keep the clearance a little bit higher. So now I'm gonna finish welding everything up. Well, the exhaust is all welded up and I put it back in. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out for the most part. What we got to do next is figure out the tips. I'm just going to mark out about how far in these should sit and what kind of angle these are going to have. I think upwards probably looks the best. And then after that we can start working on the hangers. So we're almost done. It's going to be a late night. I was just told that he needs this done by the end of tonight because we're taking this to get tuned tomorrow. So we're on a bit of a time crunch. Well, it's the following morning, and last night I was out here till like 2 a.m. working on this thing. I had to cut a couple corners to get this thing ready. So we got the tips welded on to the rest of the exhaust. Nothing really too special going on there. And for the hangers, I just cut off what was on the old exhaust and I just MIG welded it on. It pained me to do that, but I didn't really have any other option. I had to get it ready for today. So we're gonna load this thing up and then I will come finish it later. The car's back from tune now, so that means we're able to actually finish this thing the right way. This was just the hangers off the old exhaust. The nice thing about that is I can kind of use these to where the new hangers are gonna end up being. So I'm just gonna mark that there just so that I know where exactly I need to put the new hangers. And then I also added, I don't think I showed you, this brace down here, and that just keeps the exhaust together. For now, we're just gonna cut these off and weld the new ones on. Well, I got the hangers just tacked on. I'm gonna fit them on the car. They sit at about the same height up, and they're about the right distance that they need to be. So we're shooting for about 4 inches, which is pretty close to what we got. Once we verify fitment on there, then I'm gonna take this bar and probably put it back here. Kind of like how the old one had, where did I put the old one? I don't even know where that is. But that old one had a straight piece that went across there. but I don't have any more pieces of flat, so that's all we're going to do there. We got the exhaust back up on here, mocked up. One thing I'm noticing is that right side droops down a little bit lower than the left side, but that's okay because when I lift this up here, we're going to tighten the clamps down when it's up like that. That kind of helps that quite a bit. The distance that it sits out looks good to me. We got a bigger gap on this side than we do this side, but I'm not super worried about that. I think it'll be just fine. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe to follow along what project I'm going to be working on next. Until then, adios.